these people together and force them into an environment where they have to get to know each other and get to know each other's quirks, and they won't like each other, and then they're going to break up and we're going to get back together. That's what happens. Sleepless in Seattle. They don't really get together. It's a long and winding route to get together. You're looking at me like you have something in your head that's your favorite romantic comedy.
No, I'm just thinking of other movies that came out at that time. You've Got Mail. Was that Meg Ryan too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Meg Ryan had a long run
She
as
did
that
a
girl
lot of
because she was
rom-coms.
very non-threatening, cute.
Yeah.
Your boyfriend definitely appreciated it. She's certainly lovely. I'm not sure he's like, I want to have sex with Meg Ryan. No offense to Meg Ryan.
You don't think if a man met Meg Ryan,
he would have sex with her because she was Meg Ryan? Meg Ryan, and again, love you, Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan is never the hottest one in any restaurant she's in.
so if 1990s Meg Ryan walked in here today, you'd be like, hi.
And she wasn't
lady.
Meg Ryan, I would be like, she wouldn't be as pretty as girls I date.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
No, I have then. Like Meg Ryan at the time, if she wasn't Meg Ryan, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, look at her.
As a woman, I always thought she was
right,
very
because
stunning.
you want her to be stunning because she's non-threatening to your husband and your boyfriend. Just like the women love Jennifer Garner. They all think Jennifer Garner is the hottest thing.
She is.
Okay. You're welcome to poll 100 guys. And,
see, but also for me,
like,
I was still young when these movies came out, so I looked at these women as like, wow, when I grow up, I want to be them. They seemed very confident.
You're not that young. Secondly, another round came around where it was Drew Barrymore was in a lot of these things.
She was. Never Been Kissed.
Yeah, she was in some Adam Sandler ones. She had a long run. Same thing. She's your fun. She was the one who's too pretty to play the friend. You know, the Janine Garofalo part, the Amy Schumer part. There's always a friend who's like wacky and crazy and says stuff. So Drew Barrymore's too good looking to play that part, but not good looking enough that she's disqualified from this.
Okay, so I feel like you're very focused on the women and how they look. Let's talk about the men.
Well,
okay,
we're not. I'm
feeling very attacked right now.
No, you're not very attacked. I'm trying to explain it, and we're going to get to the guys. But since you jumped there, we're going to go there too. The guys don't necessarily want to believe. So when there's a situation where the man is handsome and well dressed, is Richard Gere in Pretty Woman.
Like a Matthew McConaughey.
Okay. Matthew McConaughey and what is that? The guy had a lot of
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
10 days. They generally take away the Richard Gere part. They dumb that guy down to make it look like he's a good looking, but he's a surfer guy, or he's what's the one with where they go to Hawaii and
with Matthew McConaughey?
No, with Jason Segel.
Oh, right. And Kristen Bell was in it.
Right.
Yeah.
And and Mia Kunis.
Yes.
So Kristen Bell is cute and pretty. She's not necessarily that hot. The other one is all three. She's a Blue Lobster.
That's
Mila
driving
Kunis.
me nuts that I can't think of the name of this movie.
Okay, what is the name of that movie?
Oh, we lose.
Good thing I have the power of Google here. That sucks that I don't have that movie.
Because that's where who's the English guy?
Yeah, I know. We know all the characters
he was in
it.
there, and they're doing yoga.
Yeah, Richard
Branson.
No, not Richard Branson.
We're just naming any English
Forgetting
guy.
Sarah Marshall.
Okay, there it is. Ding ding.
So for him to be the lead in that, he has to be seen as like a schlumpy. Russell Brand was the name of him. He was weird, and he had this weird career that to make it appealing to the guys, other than the example of Richard Gere that I brought up, they're quirky losers, can't get it together, doesn't have a great job, surfs too much, embarrasses in front of the family, that kind of thing. Like Matthew McConaughey, he's never in the romantic comedies. He's not this master of industry. He's a guy who can't get it together. Okay?
Well, so I listened to his audiobook, and it sounds like these rom-coms were very beneath him. I remember him saying in his book he was offered tens of millions of dollars to do another one after How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Well,
and
they're
he
a
said,
stepping stone, because it's tough to evolve beyond that. Meg Ryan clearly wanted to get into a level of her career where she was getting, I'm trying to think of who her contemporaries are, their parts. Gwyneth graduated from that. Gwyneth was doing Shakespeare in Love. Meg Ryan was seen as the cute friend rom-com star. It's tough to make that leap. So once Matthew McConaughey's get into like drug dealing gay hustler guy in Dallas, whatever the one he won an Oscar for. It's tough to get him to go back and do a rom-com. Same thing with Woody Allen. Woody Allen, who Annie Hall really has the beats of what Harry Met Sally turned into. He used to just make funny, silly movies, and then he got serious.
I don't even want to talk about him.
I get it. But back in the day, he wrote romantic comedies because he wanted to picture himself as getting girls he probably couldn't get.
Getting girls who were very young.
But did. Yes. No, not in the movies. He wasn't getting girls very young. He would cast himself along women that he was actually dating in real life, So the men in this, so when you take Matthew McConaughey, there has to be something wrong with him in order to work out, in order to be conflict. The romantic comedy leads. They have to not have their shit together. They have to not wear clothes. They have to embarrass,
They have to be relatable.
Vince Vaughn types. They have to be kind of a fuck up. Mm-hmm. I know somebody's going to mention, what about The Breakup? The Breakup is not a romance. I'm not sure it's a comedy.
You hate that movie, yeah?
Well, they should not be together. He's a real dick. So being a dick, I think it's very degrading to women because he's an asshole, and still it's like she wants him anyway. Are we supposed to root for them to be together?
So just to remind everybody, so the premise of The Breakup is
Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn.
And they meet at like Wrigley Field and they start dating. They get this condo, and eventually you get that soundbite of, I want you to want to do the dishes.
Right.
And he felt like she was nagging.
They should break up, which it's the name of the movie, The Breakup, and that should be the end of those two. You don't want them to be back together. You want them to move on. Because there was no redeeming. There's I can see that nugget of...
But it's relatable. There. I feel like that's very common in relationships, though.
Right.
Where one person is all in and the other one is just kind of meh.
And then you know what you should do?
What?
You should break up. That's the name of the movie. It's called The Breakup.
They did. But it was still very sad for me at the end. Remember at the very end, they both turn around, they see each other on the street. Is this too recent for spoiler alert?
Hold on. If it's over 10 years, it's not a spoiler alert. I'm going to see.
It's called The Breakup.
I know. Well, hold on. I'm not going to give away La La Land because you all need to watch it if you have not yet. The Breakup is 2006. Okay. Statute of limitations over. It's 15 years ago. They don't quite get back together, but it's the moment at the end. And he has some job where he can't get it together, and he's a boat tour guide thing.
Their family owned this tour guide thing. She worked in the art studio.
Yeah. They shouldn't be together. You don't want them together.
Why? Why? I did. Why? Because why? Because his job wasn't as serious as hers?
He wasn't a good guy to her.
No, right.
The breakup was very one-sided. The breakup was he's an asshole, and then they broke up.
And his friends even say that in the end,
right.
too.
So there was no, I could see both people, they just didn't communicate well. No, it's very, he sucks, she didn't, go find somebody better. But the girls who watch this, just like the girls who watch Sex and the City, there's a part of you that are like, if I could just get him to do the dishes on his own, everything would be fine.
I want you to want to do the dishes. I want you to want to get me 12 lemons.
Yeah.
Baby doesn't need 3 lemons. Baby needs 12 lemons.
And he didn't. And so that should be the end of it. But the women watch it.
So that's enough of a reason to break up a relationship?
Is that
a kind of a red flag?
No, there was no upside. He was just rude to her. He was a bad guy.
So you're saying she stuck it out way too long.
I'm saying that was an example of a breakup that here it should have been a documentary. Here it is. It didn't work. Goodbye. So the fact that they make that movie and there's some sort of element where, first of all, I don't see the comedy part in it because Vince Vaughn's in it and Jennifer Aniston. We're supposed to laugh. None of it's funny.
I think the comedic part was when they had to move out of this condo that they shared together, and neither of them wanted to leave, and so he starts doing all these shenanigans.
That's not funny.
It was entertaining.
That's not funny. So there's no anyway. It's a tragedy. That's a horrible movie. This podcast is not a tragedy, but we do have to pay the bills. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back right after this. And we are back. I'm here with Katie Gross, host of
The One with All the 90s.
And this is the podcast with all the romantic comedies we're talking about. I'm going to shift gears. This is a movie that not a lot of people have seen. It's one of my favorites because it definitely throws a curveball. I think even in their advertising, they called it is not a love story, it's a story about love. And that is 500 Days of Summer. As a homework assignment before you did this, I said you had to rewatch it. Did you rewatch it?
I did rewatch it. And I did. So I made a quote that Roger Ebert made July 15th, 2009. He quoted it, "A perfect love not meant to last."
Spoiler on that one, too, because it's
Oh,
over,
no,
it's over
I
10
did.
years.
Okay.
But a lot of people haven't seen it. So.
Okay. I got the green light on that.
Anyway, her, the one, the
Zoe Deschanel.
No. See, she's quirky and fun and cute, but the one, all right, it's been a long enough time. You should have seen this. The one that he gets in the end, she's a Blue Lobster.
Yeah. Okay. That was kind of her breakout role, too. Minka Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about the spoiler alert. That movie, a romantic comedy, does it have to end in a nice, neat bow, happily ever after? Do you think that is a requirement of romantic comedy?
No, and I think that was one of maybe the first, dare I say, movies that didn't really end in the way that you wanted it to as a viewer.
Or expected to, yet it was satisfying.
It was still really sweet, yes.
And it made sense.
Yes.
And it was realistic.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think the first movie that ended like that is Something About Mary.
Okay, remind me of how that one ended.
See, listen, if you have short-term memory
I
loss,
do.
you probably
That's why
how are you doing a show about the 90s?
I made 2 pages of notes because my memory is horrible.
Okay.
I've seen all of them.
Matt Dillon.
All I remember about that
Cameron
is she
Diaz.
puts the quote-unquote hair gel in her hair.
Okay. It takes a lot of curveballs and it goes a different way, doesn't? And then there's several, I think that's a romantic comedy.
Yes.
If you don't retain Something About Mary, we're going to.
I remember bits and pieces. I don't remember the end.
Okay.
So fill me in.
There's some.
I'm sure there's people listening who are waiting for you to fill
curveballs
them in.
can happen in romantic comedy. It's almost as if Pretty Woman ended before he came back in the limo. Mm-hmm. And some movies did start to do that, but they had to have had a satisfying. I mentioned on a few episodes back. I mentioned Pretty in Pink. Are you familiar with Pretty in Pink? Or that's before your time?
It was, but I remember
the original ending of Pretty in Pink had her with Ducky.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
the audience
hated it
because they're like, "There's no way this girl would end up with the loser." They don't want her to end up with the loser. They want her to end up because the women want to believe at some point the light bulb is going to go off and Andrew McCarthy. I would have written the movie that she ended up with Blaine.
Because
James
that's
Spader,
too realistic. In real life, the girl would end up with the loser and probably get married.
And the girls don't like it and get married and sad.
No, I want to see the way that it probably should have gone.
That's a tragedy. So curveballs in romantic comedies are fine. Like I said, Pretty Woman, if it ended where she went back to the streets and Kit DeLuca, was that the friend?
Oh, wow. I don't remember. Yeah.
And did that, it would have been unsatisfying. It would have been realistic, but him coming at the end with the limo and the flowers and scaling the
ladder to her
my
apartment.
grandmother used to watch Pretty Woman weekly before she died. She's like, "Oh, that Richard Gere is something."
Is that what she sounded like?
Yeah, that's exactly what she sounded like.
Like an old man.
Yeah. Richard Gere sure is something.
Sweetie, can you get me a hot tea? So is that how you know that movie so well, is from watching it with her?
It's
That's
a very
really cute,
famous movie.
But did you watch it with her? Did she force you to watch it? Did she teach you,
yes.
honey, when you're old enough to drive, you're going to drive down the street, you're going to find all the hookers you can find.
Yeah, so that's a weird thing.
They're going to fall in love with you.
The fact, because that's a Broadway show and everything now, we're supposed to just wipe out the hooker part. And The Hooker with a Heart of Gold is a romantic comedy.
Do you know that was a Disney movie, too?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's going back hundreds of years.
Crazy.
As far as, it goes back to Shakespeare using the local whore as fodder for romance, which is fine because that's a male fantasy. If I pay for it, she'll like me eventually. Mm-hmm. That's what's twisted. So my point is, romantic comedies, traditionally, you're like, oh, the girls drag their boyfriends to this. That's the dirty little secret. The boyfriends like the romantic comedies because it's selling hope out of conflict. And that's what relationships are. You are not going to get where you want to go without that pressure point, without the conflict, which is romantic comedies. The laughter is us laughing at the character. They're not having a whole lot of fun during this conflict and during these breakups and troubled times. And, oh, my God, I can't believe it do that. So you're watching it and you're paying attention to it all works out in the end. That's a good thing. But you have to look at what these characters generally are going through to get that. It's a lot of oh, my God, he's crazy. She's an idiot. whatever before it all comes together.
So I went on last night and I looked up the reviews for 500 Days of Summer, and can I tell you the biggest quotes? I put these down because it was quote after quote after quote that pretty much, and it was men and women, basically said, she's a hoe.